The only way to protect yourself in the age of centralized power and artificial everything is to own yourself and your assets. So just by being in this space and being bullish on Web3, you are doing the right thing. Well done. Good job. All right. Welcome to Into the Cypher State, everyone. This is the premier public broadcast of Galactica Network, the ultimate private identity stack for Web3. We're a decentralized layer 1 blockchain where we try to reverse the parasitic business practices of the corporate-owned internet and return control of your data and its value from big tech and companies to you. So that means real digital identities for real humans on a sovereign internet where your reputation matters as a private, unstoppable, and free citizen of the world's first cypher state. Thank you very much for joining, everyone. It's going to be an epic show. I really can't wait for this. I've been looking forward to this all week. We've got some of my favorite people on the stage today, so I'm so looking forward to speaking to everyone. My handle is citizen42.gnet within the Cypher State. You can also call me Dave if you wish. Just want to get a quick disclaimer out before we start speaking. It's very important to remember that myself, any team members on stage, CosmosHOSS, my co-host, anyone who joined us on stage, we are your guides to navigating the Cypher State. We are not your financial advisors, so please don't ask for any financial advice. Nothing said on this space constitutes financial or investment advice. With that out of the way, guys, we have my favorite guy, CosmosHOSS, on stage, my legendary co-host. He's back from Consensus, I believe, last week. So how you doing, bud?
Yeah, I was there all week, and then I'm back for a few days, and then I'm heading to New York. There's a DevMost event. It's mainly like a low-key event for just Cosmos teams. They're just like building some cool shit and displaying it, so it's going to be kind of fun. I'm going to do that this weekend, but yeah, doing well, man. Consensus was really good. The energy was good. It was a good time.
Hell yeah. Hell yes. Well, I hope you got energy for a pretty cool space today, dude. We got some great people on. Speaking of, we have, who is behind the Logos account today? Is that Dr. Goemon? Dr. Goemon? I would love to know the proper pronunciation.
Hey everyone, thanks for the intro. Dr. Goemon, my alias for this specific project in which I'm a core contributor, aka Chief of Propaganda. Dr. Goemon is how you pronounce it. You can also just call me Doctor. Nice to meet everybody. Pleasure to talk to you and tell you more about what we're doing. And happy to see you guys also succeed in the Cypher State mission.
Hell yes, man. Hell yes. Yes, we've all got our ways of getting there, and I'm just so looking forward to speaking to you and how you guys are doing things. Chief Propaganda Officer, I love that. Okay, let's go. OP1. I spoke to OP1 on a space, I believe it was like a week and a half ago, OP1. I can't remember, but absolutely legendary guy. How are you doing, buddy? What's your story?
Yeah, doing very well. Thank you for having us on. That was about a week ago. That was pretty exciting to connect with you. I mean, Angelo and BuildCity had been putting you on our radar for a little while, so the fact that we can get together today is pretty exciting. Congratulations on your funding round, by the way.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely awesome. Yeah, we managed to raise damn near $3 million from just community, just from regular people who are actually looking forward to building a Cypher State with us. Not VCs, not big money, just us. So that was absolutely wonderful. One of the highlights of my career so far. So I'm absolutely loving that. Thank you, man. Okay, just going to go through a couple more of our speakers today. We've got one of our sentinels on. Triggs, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing great. I was real bummed to miss out last week during the exciting alpha launch, but I was down in Texas. I didn't run into Haas, but I wasn't actually at Consensus. I was just hitting all the side events. So but it was fun times. It was my first time at a actual local Web3 crypto kind of event. So it was a groundbreaking experience for me.
That's sad we didn't meet. Yeah, this is literally the first conference I went to where I basically didn't do a bunch of side events. I think I did like one or maybe two, and that was it. I just did the main event, kind of just like dinners and stuff like that. So, anyways, man, we'll run into each other sooner or later.
The value is always in the side events, right? Pretty much. Like it's never the main event.
Well, it depends. I mean, the side events, a lot of times, if you go to different ones, a lot of times they're always the same people over and over and over. So, like, yes and no. If the main event, which is what the good thing about the main event, especially this one, it wasn't really retail focused because it's not cheap to go to it. So we ran into a lot of Web2 people, bankers, and like just hedge fund people, and even the governments. Like I was talking to some people from the army and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool. It was different, and then all the different teams are there. It's not just Cosmos teams. Like really, there was only like 3 Cosmos teams. There was a Kosh, Corium, a Ride Chain, and that was it. Actually, so 3
That's right.
teams.
I love a ride chain. Haven't actually heard of the other 2. I need to do some investigations.
Yeah, so it was nice because it was just a bunch of random teams that you can kind of collaborate with or talk to, and it's not the same people. But the side events, for the most part, yeah, that's like where a lot of the willing and dealing gets done, anyhow. But yeah, that's just my thoughts about the conference.
OP1 logos. Were you guys at the consensus in any way, shape, or form? You don't have to divulge anything if you don't want to. Just curious.
No, it's all good. We missed out on that one. I mean, the next couple on our radar are ITTCS, which is really kind of like, I don't know, in my mind, like the European crypto conference. There's a lot of like Cosmos events that take place around then. Then probably Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville after that. No, the one thing I was going to joke about, like the hacker way to do a conference is to buy one ticket so that everybody can then get lunch and then just go hit up the side events for drinks and dinner afterwards.
This man's done it before. This man knows. All right, brilliant. So I just want to hit up Chris B, one of our other legendary sentinels, before we crack on with a couple of little pieces of news, and then we will get straight into the meat of the show.
Hello, everyone. Great to be back. Looking forward to another exciting episode. And yeah, I'm really curious what we're talking about today.
We got some major stuff. Guys. So, as you guys have understood from the introductions, we got logos.co, and we got Angelo as well. Where's Angelo? Is Angelo up here yet? Not yet.
I'm here behind the build banner. Hopefully that's all right.
Yeah, man. If we could get an introduction to you, Angelo, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm my name's Angelo _A_junior on X, and I'm one of the lead instigators, I guess you could say, for BuildCities, and we're a protocol for economic development. So what that basically means is we have a platform, has a bunch of cities that also take into account people's digital networks, and we're creating a DAO basically for each city that has a full financial stack, a governance stack. You can list projects on there, kind of everything that I guess in a way creating minimum viable kind of digital twins of cities that can actually deploy capital into real estate projects, startups, small businesses. That's kind of the dream, and that's what we're working for. So again, really, really glad to be here. Really exciting stuff that you all are working on, and very relevant to how we're thinking about taking crypto capital and converting it into kind of more real asset capital.
Hell yes. We need real communities. We need to get some kind of communication going between the on-chain and the off-chain worlds. We need to get people together. We need real human beings in both digital and physical formats. We need all the humans, all the humanity, all the communication. We need it all to work together, get it done. Beautiful stuff, Angelo. Thank you. We've been chatting for a long time, me and Angelo, and he's all good. There is nothing bad about this man. Okay, so I'm not going to go around the entire speaker panel today, guys, for introductions, because we've got quite a lot to get through. But I'm really looking forward to your input later on, okay? So we got Eric74, we got Chuck, we got Oursaur, we got, I think that's pretty much everyone who hasn't already introduced themselves. Yeah, but in any case, guys, absolute legends up on the stage. Looking forward to speaking to everyone. So Galactica news. Just a few bits on Galactica before we move on. I want everyone to hang tight. We know that you've been waiting for the final word and reward breakdown for the Gilding Galactica tournament. We have been having some administrative holdups that have basically prevented us from being faster than we have been on this. I'm really sorry. Can't have gone any faster than this. You will have a full breakdown and tournament overview, so like a prize breakdown and a tournament overview next week. Okay, that's as fast as we can get it done. I just wanted to get that out there on the space so that you guys were all aware. I don't like keeping you guys in the dark. So there's that. And then speaking of stuff that's coming soon, it's a bit of alpha, I suppose. We have something pretty fun coming up for our very much currently underserved Telegram community. So you've heard it here first. Probably best to join the Telegram if you haven't already, and that's all I'm going to say on that. So if you're interested in the community side of things and Galactica and trying to just get involved in everything that we're doing right now, very good idea to join Telegram right now. Okay, everyone. So let's crack on with one piece of news that I would like to get out the way, privacy related, that I'd just like to throw out to the speaker panel because we've got some awesome people today. So Apple, it's been talking about its new AI features for the iPhone. Apparently they are going to be server based. They're not going to be on device. But they also claim that they have basically got this, they've got 3 years worth of research into this confidential computing for its on server generative AI features. So what's happened? So basically the technology kind of isolates and encrypts data within a processing unit, which then is securely sent back to the source. And it supposedly provides a very robust privacy solution that governments and courts can't even touch. So I am just curious about everyone's opinion on this. And basically the question is, would you trust such a service even if it is from a centralized actor? I'll throw that open to the floor. If anyone wants to speak on that, you can just open up on mic. I'll try and control everyone if there's too many people.
Nope.
There you go. Thank you, Trix.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a resounding no, probably from this group. I mean, one thing nice about Apple is, for being centralized, typically the compute tends to be on device. But I don't know, without really digging deep under the hood and understanding how it works, I mean, it's pretty much a no.
Completely fair, guys. Well, if anyone has any opposing opinions, then I'm happy to hear them. Otherwise, then we'll crack on. But yeah, I think it's the centralized nature of these things that really is the kicker, everyone. If it's centralized, it's not free. The end of story there, really. You can't really be free on a centralized system. There's always someone holding something over your head.
Well, I think there's probably more we can talk about with this, right? Because one of the things we talk about at Logos a lot is how do you get people to care about privacy without these black swan events, right? Like data breaches and your information being hacked. And I think there's a really simple thought experiment when you talk about the future of a surveillance state and the ability for data to be just pulled up in a dragnet and then use AI to parse that data. It's pretty clear we need to be thinking about privacy now to prevent that future, right? That dystopian future. That's our point of view, at least.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. It's the same contradictions going on with network states themselves. It's actually getting people interested in the damn things when everything's okay-ish. When there's still food on the table, when there's when people aren't being abused by their governments, by tyrannical governments for the most part. People need these. People need some kind of chaos to form a new opinion. So
Yeah, I would
yeah, go on, Angelo.
Incentives. If there's ever a doubt about these companies, right? You always have to see where their incentive lies, right? Apple makes a lot of money by collecting user data. If you do not know what they're doing with your data, you just should healthily guesstimate that they're using it for something. And just a quick Google search already shows that they were fined like $9 million for illegally collecting iPhone owners' data for ads. So this was last year. We have kind of recency bias, I forget, but in any case, these companies are all incentivized to harvest your data. So this is kind of their business model in many cases. So if I can't see what's going on under the hood, I just assume that they're taking everything they can from me.
100%. I couldn't agree more, to be honest. And also, there's straight up evidence that, if there's a financial incentive involved, then these big companies will just straight up lie. We've seen the Google leaks for their algorithm recently. It's absolutely mad. These people, they'll say one thing in public, they will straight up lie and do the opposite thing if there's a financial incentive involved. Sorry, Angelo, I think I actually cut you off, please.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, the vessel for all of these things though still lies within the phone itself, right? So I think one of the questions that we probably don't challenge enough or figure out closer. I mean, Solana's taken their attempt at creating your own kind of sovereign phone, sovereign identity. I mean, Apple's hardware monopoly or any of these phone monopolies that they have is kind of equivalent to wanting to travel somewhere and you have to go through the security checkpoint. The same kind of hard realities that your passport would have at a given checkpoint. So I'm really interested and would love to figure out how we can start actually getting a hardware stack that allows for more sovereignty, regardless of any of the I just kind of blanket assume any software that's going to be putting into the phones is going to be could be used against me or is already being used against me or profit extracted from that data. So the more we can kind of lean into hey, how do we rethink hardware from the ground up? And I think interestingly with AI, we now have there is a new portal opening where there's a form factor change in that, hey, you're having a combination of, hey, people might want to be using their phones less, right? And they're using, you've seen the Rabbit, you've seen the, Humane Pin. Obviously, those are still companies, so to speak. But what could a hardware form factor look like that you could leverage with your own private data that's own, it's not monetized by any third party, only you have the authority to monetize it. In a form factor that can still, serve the basic needs that we all kind of rely on phones for. But anyways, yeah, my thoughts. More questions, really.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? And that hardware needs to be open source because, what if Ledger was to build this wallet and then reveal to us years later that there was software capabilities that they hadn't revealed to us in the past, like the ability to extract our private keys, right?
Right. Yeah.
I hate Ledger.
Yeah, we need an alternative to Ledger.
Yeah, I think that's really a huge point right there that I was hoping would come up. You can trust all these people and what they say all day long, but at the end of the day, if you can't verify, you can't believe it. And that's why open source, I think, is so so powerful, even beyond just decentralization. We need to have decentralization. We need to have sovereignty over our hardware, and we need to operate open source code.
Absolutely, and we need multiple sources of trust. So we need multiple versions of this stuff. So there's some kind of competition, so it all stays fair, not just begins fair but stays fair. Right, this is absolutely amazing. I just can't help. I just got to say, I absolutely love having this crowd on the stage. It's always good to have really, really strong speakers in the speaker panel. I was going to get straight into some of the meatier topics just from that, but I think it's probably better if we first we've introduced the speakers. It would be kind of good to introduce the protocols behind the speakers because we've done kind of Angelo, I guess. But maybe for logos, it would be a good idea to get more of a background on logos before we start.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, our project is pretty complex, but I guess in the sense that it touches on multiple subjects, not only technological but also political, also the people and the vision that is behind it. But I guess the shortest way to explain it is that what we're doing is taking on the challenge set in the initial vision for Ethereum. Which, as some of you may know, was not only the layer 1 consensus, now called Ethereum, but rather also a storage protocol and a messaging solution called Whisper and Swarm, respectively. So the whole history of this goes back to our founders, who were very early Bitcoin adopters and also very early Ethereum developers and advocates and organizers. And then actually carried out one of the largest ICOs for the Status platform, which is basically a super app based on Ethereum, decentralized super app that protects your privacy, so a dream. That is still being built and will actually have its release soon in the next few weeks, the latest version for desktop. But essentially, what we found is when this was being built, that these protocols that Ethereum actually was intended to build, the Ethereum community intended to build, never got built, and we actually took them on ourselves. So Logos is essentially that. It's taking storage, consensus, and messaging and putting them together in a modular way to create a fully decentralized technology stack. So which also respects privacy across its design, right? So it both on our layer one, it respects privacy in terms of the whole network. So a validator, mempool, transaction, and staking privacy. So if done correctly and all these protocols merge together and work in a modular way, then you have actually fully self-sovereign, potentially self-sovereign piece of cyberspace as it obfuscates users' identity at every point, entry point, and internally as well. So yeah, what we're talking about is actually carving out a free piece of the internet and making it and keeping it self-sovereign for its users. So then it's when the second part of the whole project comes in, which is the community and the movement behind it that is designed to sustain it, essentially. So what we're doing is creating, an independent piece of cyberspace that could allow for parallel societies based on voluntary and consensus-based governing services. So we're fully into the mission right now of building this technology. We're kind of building the airplane while we fly it. Nobody's done this ever before. We have all the past years and the cumulative experience of all our founders in crypto since the very early stages, including myself. I was in Bitcoin late 2010. And now what we're trying to do is create the base level for all of this to actually translate into a new types of governance to fill in the pockets left by or solve the corruption of the nation state system.
Absolutely beautiful. Hundreds in the chats, claps in the chats, whatever you've got for Logos, because that is an awesome mission. Now, this is a mission, obviously, that we share. We have a deep passion for ourselves. So yeah, I just, it's one of those things when you find other people who are building the same kind of who are building towards the same goal, even if we have like different diverging paths or anything like that. It's just an absolutely gorgeous thing to see and find aligned people. So I think we'll start off with something very basic. What are the properties that we are looking for? What are the properties we're trying to achieve to basically form a free and sovereign person on this new sovereign internet thing nation that we are building? I'd love to get some opinions on the exact properties we're trying to give people. I won't give ours right now because I think it's probably fairer to give everyone else the opportunity.
I'll just start. I just go. There's so many cool things going on in crypto right now. There always has been, but I mean, from the very beginning, just the nature of transparency itself for public financial flows. I think you would literally create a more kind of vested citizen, so to speak. I use this analogy a lot in some of our talks where it's like, hey, imagine, you're filing your taxes, when you do that today and you click submit on your tax filing software, whatever you're using, and it basically goes to a black box. You have no idea where that money goes after the fact. So just changing that one aspect where, hey, you click submit, you pay the same amount of taxes, and then you could track the financial, literally, cent by cent, where your money goes into and what programs it into. Just that level of transparency alone would create a more vested citizen in their city, in their country, in their state, whatever kind of jurisdiction you call home. I think if you could pull that off, that would just be a seismic shift in kind of how we kind of operate as a civilization, citizenry, and that's tabling all the other cool potential things you could do. Quadratic voting, I mean, that's just just scratching the surface on streaming finances, et cetera, kind of almost like real-time accountability for elected officials or whatnot. So, but just transparency alone would be massive.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love that you brought up transparency first. So transparency is one of those things that is both blockchain's biggest, like one of the biggest benefits of blockchain. It's also one of the things that's prevented us from forming trust networks, I guess, because we are stuck with pseudonymous identities pretty much. Which is what and it's one transparency is also like the major reason, like on a transparent network. I'm sure Logos and OP1 will 100% agree that on a transparent network you need to be private to maintain people's basic rights and like their fundamental ability to remain humans. So like I say, privacy is 100% required in a transparent network in order to make people work. However, again, that kind of takes away their ability to prove themselves when they're private. So I'm kind of very curious, actually, from Logos' perspective, or maybe OP1, what you guys consider. Like, I'll tell you right now, from Galactica's side, I think this is probably one of the things where we diverge a little bit. We leverage some off-chain trust via what we call they're basically private oracles. We call guardians. We allow people to choose their sources of trust and then bring that information on chain in a private manner. But I believe, I'm not entirely sure exactly how you handle trust or how you handle basic social relationships, that kind of thing on chain.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, and we got a chance to talk about this in the last space we were on. We actually don't spend that much time discussing identity, and I think from our point of view, it's not necessarily clear how you define what an identity is and what is deserving of being able to have an identity, right? And like in the United States and most Western governments, corporations have this identity of having rights and representation similar to humans, individuals, right? So I think it's fair to expect that in the future that there would be new experimentations on who gets to represent individuality and or what collections of people get to represent individuality. Now, that's not to be said that we're not glad that there are groups like you that are experimenting with this and playing around with it. To us, it all comes down to the network. And just like you said, we are relying on a lot of information that is also not on chain. Like Dr. Goemon was saying, we are building our own privacy focused layer one, and that privacy focused layer one will be radical in its design because it'll be the first to achieve transaction level privacy, mempool level privacy, and base layer privacy. So just like you said, there's going to be questions of how we answer of there's a benefit to self-sovereignty of you cannot coerce me as a validator to not include a transaction in a block, but because you don't know who I am as a validator. Oh, and also I don't know what's in that block, right? But then having the transparency that has become a feature, that's kind of an unknown. I think that's down to culture to define. The two other protocols that are non-blockchains, Waku, our communications protocol, and Codex, they're both open source peer-to-peer technology, right? So the combination of those three are what allow you to build more than just generalized applications, right? You can do that on Cosmos, Ethereum, Solana today. You're relying on communication protocols like SMS or VoIP protocols that we use, but you're also relying on centralized front ends and digital and cloud data storage, right? So from our point of view, you really unlock the benefit of sovereignty at the network level first versus going to the identity level. But I'm kind of interested to hear and your thoughts on that design and kind of how you approach that.
It's super interesting. It really is. We tend to we've just followed this. But there's a couple of things we've kind of thought about in this. So we have considered that in order to maintain the value of what we produce on chain, we need to be able to convince people who are off chain of that value. And in order to do that, we kind of need identity and verifiable trust. all these all like that's why we like kind of bring up the identity conversation really early on in the design of our protocol. What we thought about was like first we had Vitalik Buterin's paper with Paul J. Oliver and Eric Whale. They talked about like decentralized society and finding Web3 soul. It was an amazing paper, absolutely brilliant, and it started to discuss like purely decentralized reputation based on like your Web3 history, basically. But we found that in order to actually build a protocol that supported people straight away, you need some kind of bootstrapping period, because in order to like get the kind of level of reputation that's required to inform a real identity, a trustworthy identity, that's going to take time if it's just like on like Web3 history. And just doing stuff on chain, and that's in the order of magnitude of years. So we decided that we need two systems. We need that on-chain reputation, the decentralized reputation. We also need to bootstrap it via zero knowledge KYC is a very well-known term. So we devised a system of private oracles in order to get that information on chain without compromising anyone's privacy. So we basically determined that identity was an absolute requirement in our system, but we also never wanted to interfere with Web3's basic ethos of freedom, of permissionlessness, of the ability to just come in and do the thing. So we wanted to give people as many options as possible. So like Galactica is essentially like a standard layer 1 blockchain, in that, you know, it is permissionless at the base level, and you've got a lot of features at the base level blockchain that like have these reputational features. You can access the reputation root contract, you can access all sorts of things without having to do a ZK KYC or anything like that. The ZK KYC basically just opens up like a private compliant layer that lets you do all these like funky things, like doing under collateralized loans and social account recovery and all sorts of like really social actions, but they require you to like leverage some off-chain trust in order to build that up, until such time as the decentralized reputation catches up and becomes trustworthy enough to bring into that layer. So it's all very complicated, and I'm sure you're all very more than aware of how freaking complex it is to identify a real human being on a blockchain.
Yeah, because you could build, credit scores on chain, but there's really no value in it. I'm curious, do you find that the existing UX of wallets is a limitation to kind of what you want to build?
Kinda. Like, I think wallets are getting better and better all the time. I think MetaMask's snap feature is great, but then MetaMask itself is it's difficult to say if they're in any way like fully behind the Web3 ethos. So we're trying to find other ways of bringing this incredible functionality through like off-chain trust and private proofs and all like self-published private proofs and all this stuff to users without having to use like snaps and this kind of thing. So currently we've only got like MetaMask wallet and Kepler working so far, but we will be bringing in others. But yes, I mean the UX for wallets is notoriously terrible in Web3. I think we know that.
I mean, it's a really hard problem that you're trying to solve, right? And we have other things to focus on, which is why identity is one of the things that we don't focus on. But I think for me personally, like one of the problems I have is even beginning the discussion with, well, is identity something that is soul bound or not, right? Do I have the ability to transfer my identity if I want to monetize it, right? Because, well, we can imagine worlds that exist today where it's like, well, if you have a driver's license and a credit score, that's something that is inherently soul bound. But if I was to build an identity, whether it's anonymous or not, on Twitter, and that it represents a cash flow, that operates more like a business, right? That should be something that I should be able to sell for monetary gain and transfer.
Absolutely, 100%. No, I completely agree. Like actually identifying what is a verifiable human is like the trickiest thing you can do. And like this is why
I think you might be on mute there.
Oh. Fun stuff. Thank you very much. I was just saying that yes, I think it's one of the trickiest things you can do is trying to like verify a human being and what is actually an identity that you can trust. This is exactly why we've started the way we've started. Is with the like leveraging off-chain trust to bootstrap the system as far as identity goes, because otherwise it's just there's just not enough data to verify an identity otherwise. But again, you know, if you don't have the privacy aspect on top of the identity, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So this is why we've tried to. This is why I was asking this first question: is what properties actually are required to have a free individual on blockchain that can actually do everything they need to do. What kind of systems on Logos do you have for your users? Is it mostly just financial primitives, or are there any social primitives on there at all that you can kind of leverage?
Well, I mean, the history of Logos comes out of the need that Dr. Goemon was saying for status to have a decentralized peer-to-peer messaging protocol. So our history is actually in social. Now, the financial use cases, I would say, are not completely built out yet. Nomos, our privacy-focused layer one, is still targeting a testnet of early next year, right? So still very early. But it makes perfect sense that those first primitives would be, you know, DeFi. I mean, that's where we have product market fit. Friend of mine, you know, and this is not shocking to anybody here, but, you know, stated this to me not long ago, like, the only real product market fit in crypto right now is 1,000x returns, 100x returns, right? Kind of a joke, but it's kind of true. I mean, there's a lot of interest around the application layer and some of the gamify, social-fi that's taking place. I've gotten to know a lot of the people in like DeSci, and I think like where DeSci overlaps with network states starts to get very, very interesting. From a fundamental standpoint, I think the base thing you need is like, we need to go back to having a conversation about sound money. And I think one of the ironic things to me about kind of the direction that the Ethereum community has gone is this focus on ultrasound money, but you can't argue that money is, you know, sound money on Ethereum because ETH is not fungible, right? You know, if you just point to like Tornado Cash, and this is a perfect example of how, you know, not having coercion resistance or censorship resistance completely destroys fungibility. If I have an Ethereum that interacted with the Tornado Cash protocol and you don't, I am going to be censored in a way that you're not. My Ethereum will be treated differently than yours will. Those are two different assets now, right? They have a lot of characteristics in common, but they're ultimately two different assets. So I think that's one of the main reasons, and I think foundationally the one thing you need, and privacy is the requirement in order to achieve it.
Absolutely, yeah. This is one of the topics I wanted to actually bring up as well. Is just how do you like maintain the value of what you build on a private blockchain, in a silo, in an ecosystem where no one knows who you are. How do you like transfer? How do you ensure that like people off chain, for example, or anyone from another ecosystem trusts what you've produced, what you've got on there? It's a really tricky question. I just want to, just before actually, I realized that we've had Alsor with your hand up. Is your input relevant to this, Alsor, or do you want to do after OP1?
Do you hear me? Okay. Hello, everyone. No, it's very interesting. I just wanted to add to highlight one point. It's in my view, the sovereignty on Web3. There's another key point, which is immediacy of information and immediacy of connections between people and between. I think it's very important because, in my view, your freedom and as a citizen is better as long as you get very early access to the information, because you can see how decisions are implemented, you can develop retro controls, you can have better governance tools. So in my view, confidentiality, privacy, identity are key. But I think Web3 has a real advantage, which is immediacy of information. So I just wanted to add this point, because I think even in the different topics we mentioned, it has a key importance too.
I couldn't agree more. Also, I really couldn't agree more. And I think like as far as like the all these properties that we're talking about, I think the properties of blockchain massively intersect with what's good for a human being. Like it's not. I don't. This is one of the founding principles of Galactica is that you've got all these brilliant financial primitives and brilliant infrastructural layers for finance on blockchain. But all these properties of blockchain, the basically freedom, like it all comes down to freedom. This fundamental property is what humans require. We really want to be able to get we want to be able to give you the ability to essentially own your digital self. And if you can own your digital self, then that means that some other bugger doesn't, which is cool. So like your Googles, your Metas, your social medias like X even, they don't have the control you do. But that's the ultimate goal, I think, is to not just bring money and assets on chain and not just have like financial institutions, but also have social institutions, have people, have basically create like the entire world on chain, between like obviously not just on one protocol, but between a bunch of interoperable protocols, in which people can like decide which institutions they want to live under, and then exit when those institutions don't serve them anymore. Because obviously, as we discussed on our last show at OP1, like the option of exiting is so important. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit on the option of exiting.
Yeah, I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about religion, right, and thinking about how religions have grown over time. And one of the unique things about religion is like it is these ideas that have then matured and splintered to represent culturally whatever the needs are, right? Like you can have Jewish diasporas living in Ethiopia, right? Eastern Orthodoxy is very different from like Southern Baptists in the United States, right? And these are representation of those cultures, and it's this ability to fork something that is open source. Ideas inherently are open source, right? It's the application of them that can be policed, but religion never really was. At least after a period of time, it was allowed to flourish, and so people could then exit into any design that they want. It's why you have versions of all religions that are more conservative or less conservative, right? I think about like ultra Orthodox Jews versus Reform Jews, people that are just culturally Jewish, right? To give an example. Yeah, I mean, when we look at how that goes into the design decisions of building protocols, that's one of the key things of how we build Nomos, our layer one. It is intentionally designed to be forked. From a practical point of view, there's a looking at DYDX going from relying on the main chain of Ethereum, the liquidity and the security, and then migrating towards this app chain having some hiccups and now being a layer one on top of Cosmos. What if we could solve that problem of being able to migrate and remove that friction, right? What if we think about like the longevity of a protocol, and how it might mature? You can also think forward into like, well, that has a lot of political needs as well, which is that allows me to fork if the idea of intentionally forking the protocol is natively built into the design. Then if it doesn't suit me for whatever reason, because my protocol is matured or because I just fundamentally don't agree with the politics and the policies of the people that are operating it, then I can easily just opt out, right? What are your thoughts on this, though?
Well, I think that we just need to make sure that we are building our protocols with good intention for a start, like with human intention behind them, and basically provide infrastructure that allows people to do what the hell they want. I think that's pretty much the beyond most other things. That's kind of the original cypherpunk ethos, is just allowing people to be who the hell they are, and then giving them the option to exit left wherever at whatever point they decide that the systems that they are using don't serve them. So like for example, on Galactica, we're going to be allowing people to export their trust that they build with us. You know, that trust is on chain. It's never going to go away, and they can use that trust on other protocols. It's no problem at all. I mean, the goal is to be like a hub for Web3 trust. So you know, they can use it or they don't have to use it, obviously. But if they want to use other protocols, then you know we are fully invested in the interoperable future. You know, we've built this concept. I'm sure, like you've probably heard me say Cypher state every once in a while, but it's essentially an entire concept. It's like every single protocol is can be thought of as a Cypher state. Everything from Bitcoin to Galactica to Logos. We're all in some way a Cypher state under our terminology, and that essentially all that is just a protocol that allows people to exist in one way or another under a certain set of rules. Now, it's up to people to decide if they like those rules or not. Like we're building ours with a meritocratic twist on governance, and then we're allowing people to you know, if you want to come into Galactica and you want to live under our glass roof, then you know you subscribe to a meritocratic governance, at least, of the protocol. But under that glass house, you can build any kind of community that you want, like literally any kind of community. We've built our our social primitives that can, like in that kind of way where you can be super composable with it. You can build everything from like a communist state to a kingdom to some form of any of the many kinds of democracy. Anything you want, really. You can have that represented accurately on chain. But yeah, basically it's all about user choice. I mean, that's our mantra. Just user choice. Give people the choice to do what they want, see what they do with it, and then see what wins.
Yeah, I'm also curious. How do you think about the difference between a Cypher state and a network state? And I don't know if I necessarily have an answer for you now. We spend a lot of time talking about this as well. There's the perception of what a network state is from the Balajian view of a network state. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Balaji popularized network states, and we fully credit him with that. But like, as far as like building new sovereign nations and the whole idea of sovereign communities, that's been around for as long as there's been like even people. But then it's been more active since we've had like digital infrastructure, I suppose. But in any case, the difference I would say is that like most network states, they seem to be aiming for some kind of physical presence. Now, I was actually just talking about this in the Founding Nations Telegram group, I think, and that one focuses around network states that are trying to build out physical. And I was basically trying to make the point that unless you have like a critical mass of people most importantly, aligned people who are unassailable. So that means that they are private and that they are decentralized. Then you can't and then you have a critical mass of those kind of people enough that you actually have some kind of like physical, some kind of political clout in the physical world. You don't have much chance of like making inroads in the physical world with the map drawn as it is and with the lines drawn as they are. It's just too much of an ask for other people to step aside for you or to make concessions for you in almost any way, shape, or form. We just don't have the clout for it. So my like argument with the whole like digital first Cypher state versus a network state, which is aiming for physical presence, is that with a Cypher state, you end up with these, again, unassailable people. So ours are called citizens, but like unassailable people who are existing in composable, unstoppable infrastructure, the Cypher state, to the point where they can exist the way they want and be practically aligned with each other, which is super important. And then once you have enough of those people who are aligned in vision, if not in like completely going in the same paths. Like I say, you can build whatever the hell kind of society or community you want on Galactica, but they're all kind of aligned in the same, somewhat in the same way, just through overall vision. Then you could end up with a situation where, like, feasibly, where you have the same kind of political clout as a small country. At which point, when you have that kind of political clout in like unstoppable people on unstoppable infrastructure, then you can start making inroads in the physical world. I mean, that's kind of my thoughts, I guess, on like the digital versus physical, which is the kind of way I think about cipher states versus network states.
I think we're pretty similar on many parts in that conversation. I think the at least the first part of what you mentioned regarding how you're building the technology and for what purpose is very similar to the way we see it. I mean, I guess in our case, we look more at terms like civil liberties and what civil liberties are and how we can build technology to defend them, and preserve them. So, be that freedom of expression or freedom of association. So those kinds of things like include privacy, obviously, and include association, for example. So if you build technology that is built inherently to protect that and protects that from beyond human intervention, then you can actually create this kind of notion of sovereign communities, really, because it's all based on political neutrality, which is essentially based on privacy as well, and censorship resistance. I guess the other way we see things is that we're not necessarily aiming to create a new nation, for example, or create a new country, or even compete with countries. Like we're seeing things more in the sense of a kind of deterioration of the nation states as kind of, at this point, dated technology, old technology that is clearly not the best technology, is kind of eroding, or sorry, is being eroded. So the sovereignty or the governance capacity of nation states is being eroded on many different fronts, and there are pockets of new experiments with governance, be that special economic zones, city associations, this concept of new medievalism as well, which is also popping up. So in those like pockets or these new free cities, for example, charter cities, Logos, in our view, would serve as the base layer or the agreement layer where all of these communities can express themselves and can find a neutral ground for striking agreements or creating different forms of governance. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to create systems that compete within a nation state. It can also be systems that exist and live inside pockets where the nation state doesn't have any more power or has seen its reach kind of eroded,
I
which in a way
got you.
we
So like
also
free and
are
fair
doing.
governance kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're thinking of it in terms of from homeowner associations to special economic zones. Eventually, down the line, this could lead to territory, and this could lead to competing against nation states or being recognized in them. But it's certainly not an end goal. Or there definitely is this idea of creating a movement strong enough that has a foundational myth strong enough to sustain this kind of ideology of political neutrality. Which is something that Ethereum hasn't really necessarily done, and which is one of our main critiques of Ethereum, but that's another story. But I guess in the main conception of how we're building the technology is pretty similar to what you say.
100%. I think, Angelo, you were coming off mic. I'm assuming you want to have a word.
Yeah, I just wanted to also, plus one on what Dr. Goemon was saying and Logos and definitely agree. I think it's easy to put things into, binaries of like nation state bad, network state good, or Web2 bad, Web3 good, when there's really just, on a case by case basis, a whole lot of nuance. We had a conference in Denver not too long ago, and the founder of Safety Wing, it's that nomadic insurance company, had this great slide. Just said the internet is redistributing tasks from the national layer to local and global. So, what he kind of meant is like, yeah, the global coordination layer being, the blockchain, just the internet at large, right? I mean, I think if you view the world through kind of like a lens of soft power, you could argue that X is already a kind of a network state, so to speak. These different platforms are already network states that can influence, the kind of, civilization really. But there's no necessarily recognizing body, nor is it really in their best interest to say like, oh yeah, if Zuckerberg says, hey, I'm leading the Meta nation tomorrow, his shareholders would have a field day. Everybody would have a field day. I don't think anyone really wants to see that. But to that point, I think there is definitely circumstances where it's like, okay, we need like this part of the world or this locality could definitely benefit from either infrastructure, whether that be voting, whether that be the freedom to transact. That definitely can benefit and leverage the technologies that are being built here in this room and kind of across the spectrum of the kind of crypto industry and even more. And then there's some places where it's like, well, actually, this is like I'm generally pretty happy in this given locality. I like the way things work, but I also do like these different technologies and whatnot, and those can be augmented to maybe those existing localities. So like a prime example is, we kind of view a lot of this just the ability to aggregate capital into local ecosystems. We talk to small cities all the time in ways to kind of like kickstart their innovation ecosystems, and just the resounding ability to say like, hey, let's help kind of like position a way where we can actually start to get maybe a common pool of funds that people can allocate capital to in real estate projects, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and by the way, you're also going to have the leverage of this global brain trust from like 100 other cities. It just starts to be really compelling in a way that if you're able to thread those together, that becomes the network. But the locality, the locality layer never really goes away, right? The impurities of politics and just dealing with bureaucrats or whatnot. It's still a reality that I think needs to be faced and is never quite as clean as just kind of like the Bitcoin code base, right? That thing just works. We know how it's going to work. We know what's going to happen tomorrow, and so it's really difficult against when you kind of overlap that with kind of existing society, so to speak. But it does kind of have to be done.
Yeah, impurities of people, right? The impurities of people.
Mm-hmm.
They're always a stick in the wheel. But like we are who we are, and there is no perfect system for imperfect people. You can only do the best thing that you can do.
I think OP1 was going to chime in there too.
I didn't hear.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I mean, to go back in the conversation a little bit, I mean, that's why it's important to build something to exit into, right? I don't think it's unforeseen that some of the first users of our tech stack could easily be existing nation states, right? That's difficult. Like you had mentioned Citizen 42 earlier in the conversation, like how do you convince people to do this without a Blocks One event? And it's like, well, if you look at not from a Western point of view, but from the point of view of, somebody existing under a defunct bureaucracy, then there's an opportunity to replace that with something that is on chain. From the point of view of the end user, it's app based, it's cell phone based. So you're replacing having to go to the city center, travel times, missing times of work, and then you're exponentially increasing, the output of that individual, and then on the aggregate, the nation, as a result of decreasing those points of friction, right? The other thing that you have the opportunity to do is once that they're interacting with something that's on chain, you've increased the competition, right? So, okay, well, if I'm using something that my host government is promulgating to me, but it's app-based and it's on chain, I can also then go use Uniswap or Compound or Aerodrome or whatever the app is that meets whatever the use case is that I have. If you extrapolate that further, then we're talking about the the competition of governance, right? And so then we're talking about living in the same physical space, but deciding I want to flip a bit and operate under a different set of agreed upon rules than the person that may be physically next to me. It sounds wild. I mentioned this a lot. I don't know if I mentioned in the last podcast when you were listening to it, but like our founder, Jared Hope, has a podcast, and one of his guests not long ago was Patry Friedman of the Seasteading Institute. And I didn't know this, but Patry brought this up, and so I've been repeating it. But like, in living in Dubai as a foreign national, you have the opportunity to exist under your home country's family law versus the Dubai host country family law, which means that you can survey the land at any point in time. There could be as many nationalities as there are people operating under different governance systems existing in the same physical space. So that's radical, right? But like, we're starting to move towards that. And when you think about, well, what is the willingness of a government that's, in a competitive zone like that, or with a defunct bureaucracy? It's like, look at El Salvador. They've already signaled that they're willing to go for non-sovereign money versus what would have been historically, de facto relying on the US dollar or the British pound, right? And so then, well, who's to say that, okay, now that there's a governance system that they can employ that governs securities laws. And so now they're not just de facto following whatever the SEC says and trying to enforce based on whatever the SEC says is fair. There's a new system that we can build on chain. So just wanted to throw that in.
Those are great points. Absolutely great points, OP1. Like, the thing is that people are different. People are magnificent, they're unique, and they're wonderful, and they're very, very different. And we need to be able to serve all of them. Like with each and every one of our protocols, every single builder who's building something like with good intent for human beings, we need to build our protocols to support all of these people and make them free, fair, and unstoppable, so that people don't get censored. They don't get they can take back control of their lives, of their data, of just their finances, of everything. And you're right. There's already really cool use cases for simply decentralizing your life, decentralizing your finances in countries which are not developed. In which there have been failed governments, there already have been black swan events. So I think the technology that's already been produced in our space is magnificent, and it's game changing, and it's life changing for an awful lot of people. It's kind of inevitable that with the adoption of this tech. There are going to be nation states that will take part. It will mostly start off with with the developing nations and the ones which have already had these terrible events occur. It will also come in with like people at the very, very top who are just like, they're rich enough to either not care or to want to experiment. They'll be it will take a while for that middle section to catch up. But it's like this tech and this ethos is inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable, and it always comes down to people first. Like at the end of the day, everything that we do is for the people. Now, as far as people go, like I think it's kind of exactly what Angelo was saying, like about X and like platforms like this. These could very well be considered network states, right, or Cypher states, whatever you really want to call them. But the problem is, like, if they're not decentralized, they're not free. Now, if like Elon Musk, I've said this before on this podcast, like if Elon Musk decided one day to just change his mind on his ethos, you can just say goodbye to your freedom on X. Like that's the reason this platform is free is because of one man's ethos. That one man either goes away or changes, it's gone. Like the whole freedom is gone. You get a company run by a committee once again, and then you get the inevitable and very quick degradation of your freedoms. So, like, decentralization is freedom, and privacy is your armor against being assailed by any entity. So, I think those properties are absolutely required. Now, I just want to do a quick reminder, everyone. Sorry, I haven't done a reminder in a while. I've been way too interested in everything everyone's got to say. My goodness, there's been some good conversation. So if you have the moment, guys, if you have a moment free, if you could drop down into the bottom right of your screen, probably the little purple pill. Give us a like and a retweet on the space if you're finding value in everything that's being said today. I think I'm finding massive value, so I think a lot of people should. It doesn't take you any time, so if you can give us a like and a retweet, it will get an awful lot more people listening to the recording as well. So I'd be thankful forever if you could do that for me. Now, question time, I guess, guys. Firstly, actually, I want to go to Chris B, because you had your hand up, I realize, and I completely missed it. I don't know if anything you want to say right now is relevant, or if you want to say something, Chris B, but please, if you want to.
Yeah, it's okay. I was thinking about the question with the identity, because I think it was OP1 when he said they don't think that much about identity. And then I thought, okay, and how's about Galactica? So it's a question for you, Dave. So when we take, for instance, the Swiss tax law, then we have a natural person, which is like an individual, and we have a legal person or a legal entity. So could be a company or something like that. So when we talk about nation state or state, and we talk about people, and people are like organized in communities, but what about Galactica itself, for instance? Will Galactica or companies have their own identity? And can they also then export their reputation or everything? So how do you think, or how does Galactica think about this kind of identity?
Super interesting, Chris. As far as like businesses goes, I mean, I think the best the best organizational structure for a business would be a DAO, which is in a which has social institutions as social institutions is infrastructure rather than financial institutions, which is what's the current kind of process. So right now, as we all know, DAOs are basically they function, they function, but they function in only for the whales, the rich, the people who already have a massive stake for whatever reason. They only really serve a very few people. So what you would want for a business is a socially enhanced DAO, essentially, which is pretty much exactly what we're building. So you could use that for a business, you could use that for a country, you could use that for your tennis club. It doesn't really matter. The point is that you can define social rules as well as financial ones to allow people like merit-weighted access and to governance, that kind of thing. So it wouldn't just be based on like on tokens or that kind of thing. So you would be able to create entities which would certainly fit all the criteria for like a business entity, which could be legally recognized. You would also be able to have again these like off-chain links. You'd be able to talk to the real world both ways in complete privacy. So maintain the sanctity of your blockchain address, so no one would ever be able to link your off-chain data to your blockchain address. No one would ever know the data anyway, because it's completely self-sovereignly held, and you're only ever interacting with proofs, so the data is never exposed to on-chain risk. The point is that you would be able to form definitely something equivalent to a business entity that way. If you could also like OP1 was saying earlier, an identity without like 100% confirmation that it's a human, but like enough trust in it that it is trustworthy. It's kind of a business entity, and that can be kind of formed through again this like decentralized reputation. So that could be something that's done outside of the citizenship layer entirely. So that's something that would be an interesting way of doing it. But yeah, there's all sorts of identities, guys and girls. There is all sorts of identities that can be represented in all sorts of ways with the technology that both Galactica and Logos and everyone is building here. Not everything has to be done the same way. What we're trying to do is just expand upon the range of identities that can be represented, and the goal is to have as many like verifiable humans as possible to build up a genuine society without sacrificing the freedoms and all the good stuff. So hopefully that kind of helps on that, Chris.
Yeah, great answer. Thank you.
No worries at all. Okay, so we have like 70, 80 people live at the moment, I think. So first, I want to chuck it to CosmosHOSS. I hope you've been learning something today, mate, because we've been having a lot of cool conversation.
I've been just chilling, and sometimes I have to like remove some of the speakers and bring them right back up because there was like a little hiccup mid convo with someone, and then like all of a sudden one speaker I can hear, and then the next I couldn't, and now I'm hearing everyone, so that's good because for a little bit there I have no clue what the hell was going on. Like I couldn't even understand anyone because there was just you and Triggs, I think, for a little bit, the only two I can hear. But no, it's a very good conversation that hits home with like a lot of like things that I was thinking about. And while everyone was speaking, I was thinking about some other things. Like I don't know if you guys had seen, they had that Jim Cramer was interviewing Gary Gensler, and they were talking about atom and cosmos, or I mean, and osmosis. It was kind of interesting. I was just listening to that while that was going on too, and yeah, man, it's just an interesting space that we're in. It's like we're all just trying to find our ways and build tooling to make everything better. Because just to kind of recap what we're talking about, anytime there's some sort of central entity that's holding your data, it's not good, because even if they have good intentions, which they probably don't, at some point, whenever their bottom dollar isn't where they anticipate it to be, or like their quarterly results, like they're going to dip into that data and find ways to manipulate that data to make more money for their shareholders. So, yeah, I don't like any central entity holding any data. I just think it's kind of predatory and it's not cool. And yeah, and crypto is just offers so many solutions to all of that. I'm tired of seeing all the different hacks and data breaches, and even how I get stuff in the mail from time to time. It's like, oh yeah, so and so, because they have your records. They're like, you were at this gym, or your old bank account, or whatever the hell it is. It's like it's been, it's out there now, and it's just it's kind of shit. Hopefully, we have like a reset where like maybe the next generation, or the children that are being born right now, have a better opportunity for all their data to be kind of more secure and just not all over the place. And it just goes to everything, like manipulation, right? Like today's day, I don't know how other countries are, but I think it's pretty easy to just like create fake citizens and have them vote in your country and stuff like that. And it's just a lot of shit going on, and what Galactica's building and all these different solutions in crypto, it makes it more feasible. And maybe we'll get to a place in the world where the people can actually vote on actual bills and things that are trying to get passed, right? Like in America, the whole thing going on was trying to get banking rights for Bitcoin, like the custodial of Bitcoin, so then banks can kind of sell it, or sell that, or hold it, or sell products for that. So like you can basically deposit your Bitcoin to the bank and take out a real legitimate loan or whatever. And then it seemed like the way everything was going the way it was supposed to, and then the Trump thing happened, and it seems like Biden was like, whatever, I'm just going to veto this bill. And it's just not cool, right? Because like the people want it. Even like the people were crossing the aisles, so to speak, whether they're a Democrat or Republican, to kind of say yes, they want that to be a thing. And then just because of one person, you can just go, nah, I don't want that. Like it's kind of shit, and that's in a country that has like really good democratic policies. As believe it or not, it's probably one of the better countries for actual governance. And it's not the perfect solution, but like crypto would be way better. It's like, oh yeah, we're all holders of the United States dollar or whatever. We're all citizens, but we want to vote on this particular bill, and doesn't matter what Congress and all this has to say. Like the people can kind of potentially have an oversight to that. And I don't know, maybe I'm just like talking shit and it's never going to happen, but you can only be optimistic and hopeful that the reins get taken down a little bit, and maybe it takes another generation. Who knows? But all we could do is try to keep building things to make solutions. And I think, I don't know what speaker it was, but that was really good. The line about what the internet does, how it like kind of delegates tasks and things, because that's really true, to be honest with you. Really, it's like a layer to put out information out there. So anyways, I digress. It's been a really good conversation. I've just been chilling, listening in, like just like as a listener for the most part. So anyways, cheers.
Man, I love it. It's okay, man. I actually, I just wanted to jump on you just to see if you were still awake. But I really love the optimism you bring to this space. Also, I really do. You always try and bring it back to earth for us, which is often so very important with the kind of conversations we have up on this stage. You actually really brought up a really good point too, which was the Sybil resistance aspect, which I actually wanted to ask the Logos guys about as well. How do you guys tackle like Sybil resistance kind of tasks and ensuring that you don't just get flooded by, for example, like artificial intelligence, bots, that kind of thing, with governance or through any of your systems, really?
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of this goes back to identity. And I hate for a lot of my answers to be like Nomos as a layer one blockchain is too early. I can point you to Waku, which uses what is developed, which is the RLN network, which is intentionally designed to prevent spam. So it's a little bit different, but it's the point is building out economic disincentives such that a user doesn't want to pay the cost of spamming. But it's very different from going through the process of ensuring civil resistance by ensuring an identity with some sort of soulbound token based on reputation that is limited to one per human being. I think the challenging thing about that is like if we go back to the conversation that we were having about DAOs, DAOs are supposed to be autonomous, right? And so before we were having conversations, before like AI seemed like it was, within the near future, is within our reach, I think that those conversations about DAOs were just how to automate simple tasks and how to automate decision making. But right now, DAOs are not autonomous. So I think everybody's understanding and everybody's assumption as of now is the way to make DAOs autonomous is through AI. So then that opens up a whole new question of civil resistance and identity and how you prevent that. And so, I'm not going to pretend to have the answers to that now. I think what we are trying to build is the right economic incentives. With Codex, we're building a data storage marketplace. And so if somebody has excess storage that they want to rent out to somebody that is willing to pay for storage, if you can build it in a private way that prevents from search and seizure, and maintains those civil liberties that Dr. Goemon was sharing to us about, then I think that's the most important thing that we can be focused on right now.
Absolutely. I mean, I absolutely love you guys. Honestly, I think I said it again, like on the space where I found you guys. I had no idea how I didn't interact with you in a more meaningful way before now. But in any case, you guys should give Logos the profile up on the stage a follow for sure, and OP1 as well. And BuildCities, who's in the stage as well. Please give Angelo a follow as well. All these guys, all these people are they're building the future. Okay, they're building the future for you. They're seeing problems that are down on the horizon. That maybe you're not seeing yet because your life is okay. It's okay right now. It's fine. But they're seeing problems that are on the horizon and trying to fix them before you get there. And it's incredibly important work. Very few people actually do it, and they deserve all the accolades in the world for doing it. Now, I would like to just throw one more question to the panel, if that's okay with everyone. So again, we have Hoss, please go first before I throw.
No, yeah, because I didn't get to hear a lot of what Logos was saying. I just gave him a follow. But are you guys building your own chain, or are you deploying on like a?
Again, we have Hoss, please go first before I throw off a question.
No, yeah, because I didn't get to hear a lot of what Logos was saying. I just gave him a follow. But are you guys building your own chain, or are you deploying on like an L2, or what's going on?
Yeah, so we're actually building a suite of protocols that actually were inspired by the early vision for Ethereum. So if you go back to the Gavin Wood early Ethereum Foundation vision, which was the Ethereum blockchain, a peer-to-peer communications protocol, and a peer-to-peer durable data storage protocol. And the idea was you could basically build a new internet and build is the spiritual successor to Whisper, which was the communication protocol. We actually were building Status, the messaging app on top of that. Their team abandoned that project. We forked the code and created Waku, which is now Web2 for communication and data storage. So the difference between Logos and that early vision is adding privacy to the base layer, not only to our own L1 that we are building, but also to the other protocols that we were building.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I've said this numerous times in this space. But like my background's in accounting and finance, and when I first got into space, it was essentially when COVID happened. And I always visualize a blockchain as like a decentralized accounting ledger. It has perfect numbers and equations, and then you build cool, useful applications on top of that. However, the thing that was just like overlooked was just like the privacy aspect of it. And realistically, I know we're getting like these ETFs and things like that, but like for real businesses and real institutions and truly real wealth to come into this industry, there needs to be privacy kind of by default, you know, but like also having the option, you know, the availability for them to be able to produce their records still and show like, hey, you know, this is what we did, or you know, like if it's a hedge fund, every quarter they can release their records and show like these are the investments we did, or the, you know, these are the RWAs that we brought in, or whatever the hell they're going to do, without like just like me or you just being able to just, oh yeah, let me just look on the blockchain and just see every single move they're doing at every single second. And like transparency is really good, obviously, but it's also not it shouldn't be default, like the defaulted option, because it's not sustainable and usable for like a lot of different niches or industries. So I think people that are building, you know, these solutions, it's kind of tricky because they've been on, you know, anyone that's building some sort of privacy solutions has been under attack, because God forbid if someone uses it in the wrong context, because, you know, humanity, there's never been someone that's abused the system. The dollar doesn't get washed, or, you know, like it hasn't funded, you know, bad action since like humans have been, you know, established. But you know, this industry, it's like some idiot can use it the wrong way, and then it's like the whole entire industry gets categorized as like, it's, you know, it's all for money laundering and funding terrorism or whatever the hell it's, you know, these boomers want to say. But I commend people that are building things like that, because for the most part, you know, if we're having this conversation, it's 2030, like that has to be like just the standard by then, or else it's just kind of like we're all just being nerds and just having fun and having like a little cool hobby, because it's not going to get to the next level. So I'm looking forward to over the next, you know, 2 to 3 years or so for all these different privacy solutions to come out, KYCs and everything else. And, you know, maybe, you know, it's probably going to say shitty to sound this, but maybe like DeFi isn't a thing in the future. Maybe it is, like it is and it isn't, or it's like you can only interact if you have KYC, or everything else is kind of like just like super dark web. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking out loud, but that's kind of
Well,
my.
I mean, no, I don't think you're crazy, right? Because that's kind of what I mean when I say Logos is building a version of digital Switzerland, right? If you have access to the internet, you have access to the Logos network. And if you have access to the Logos network, then you will in the future have access to an area in which the people that run that network are able to say what financial experiments we can run outside of the jurisdiction of whomever you've just mentioned that I won't mention explicitly, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, one of the struggles is like I think everybody on this phone call inherently is in, or on this space is inherently behind these ideals, and it's kind of I just one more time coming back to like, because I want to kind of chill one of the fun things that we're doing. How do you motivate people to care about this stuff? So one thing, and the reason for OP1 existing, right? Like I am an anonymous representation of a rogue collection of builders with inside of Logos, right? I am not one individual, but I represent many. And one of the things that we're experimenting with is the gamification of onboarding into the Logos community, into the Logos ecosystem, using games as, you know, the modern, pervasive, most effective form of storytelling that we have to allow people to recognize where their values actually are, right? Exactly what you were saying. Like, is it more with this sort of boomerism ideals, or is terrorist financing really a buzzword that's never really meant anything to me? And when I dig down and have an inherent understanding of what it actually means, what the dog whistle is, I realize it doesn't align with me, right? And I guess this goes into identity a little bit, because through this process, you'll have the opportunity to participate in an ordinals collection. So we're specifically choosing Bitcoin because versus the other chain, we've seen disproportionately Bitcoiners seem to care more about censorship resistance and self-sovereignty and protecting the right to assemble and the right to privacy. But then, in the future, we're still working on the details. If you go to exit.logos.co, you can kind of see some of the teasers. If you follow this persona OP1 on Twitter, you can stay up to date. We'll be opening the game soon. But once you have your avatar, then you will be a member of the Logos community, and you will be able to participate in the decision making that takes place. You'll be able to learn about what assets you need to have in order to participate in this new community and have a vision in this formation of this new community. One of the ideas we're playing around with is, being able to interact with us, whether it's in an IRL form with our temporary autonomous zones that will exist around conferences or, randomly throughout the world, or whether it's in a digital format, being able to interact with us in a ZK way, such that as a member and a holder of this operator, you can come participate, you can tap in or tap out. Likely that will be built on top of KeyCard, which is our hardware wallet standard that we've built, to be a member of this, but without us ever being able to say, you were here, you weren't here, right? So that we can protect the right to assemble with you and anybody else like you that has these rights because they participated in this manner. So it's going to be a pretty exciting collection. I've teased about it a little bit on some other spaces, but if you're interested, follow along. More details will come. If you're not interested, no problem, right? Recognize it's not for everybody.
No, yeah, man. I give you guys a follow, and I'm like in everything in this space. I was just a crypto maxi. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with everything, or I need like pinged or like a reminder, and but yeah, it's exciting, man. I think the thing about Bitcoin's completely true. It's more libertarianism for the most part. I mean, you might get some that aren't, but it is more about freedom, and that was really nice to see. I mean, Bitcoin's like the granddaddy. It's like, I think the whole purpose should just be, the store of value, but it is interesting the people that are building out tooling to make like Bitcoin more of a currency within different ecosystems and have it more natively and more secure as opposed to escrows is pretty cool. And yeah, I'm all for it. I think it's a choice. I mean, there was someone recently. I know we'll turn the mic over, but I seen this person put out a post yesterday, and it was showing like how the United States dollar was being printed, and it was like the whole flow of like the dollar getting created from scratch and then getting printed and then disseminated, and then the person had like a recap of it saying like $32 trillion of supply. It's unlimited. It has one node and like all these different factors of it. And it's like, like how is there any critique on anything else that's being experimented on? I'm not saying it's cool when people rug and do stuff, but I just think it's just crazy. There's no accountability, and crypto obviously is there, and that's why the people that are in office, or at least right now, this administration, are kind of like fighting against it, because it's like it doesn't really benefit them right now, but in the long run, crypto obviously benefits humanity. Like there's just no way around it. Like the pros are so much more than any cons. Like yes, there's going to be some cons because nothing is perfect, but it's just like enough is enough. Like people are tired of like having to work all day every day, and they can't even afford to buy a piece of property because of just like this nonsense that's been going on for the last 20 plus years, really since humanity. Like all fiat's crashed, but like realistically it's been bad for like the last, I'd say since 2000. Really, it's like as soon as the year flipped over, like 2000 and beyond has been bizarre. But yeah, man, I'm just here. I appreciate everyone that's like building things and working on things, and also everyone, shout out to everyone listening to us ramble right now, and anyone that listens to us in recording. And I'll pass the mic back over to you for this thing, because I know we had some more topics to go over.
Hey, no worries at all. I absolutely freaking love it when we get this amazing conversation going. Speaking of, guys, if you are finding value in what we are saying, and if you are finding value in anything that's going on up on this stage and in this space, please give us a like and a retweet on the space, or you can give us a comment if you want to get involved. We're happy to get involved in that way. I think you're absolutely amazing for caring about the kind of subjects that we're talking about. It's one of these things where OP1 is completely correct. Everyone in this room, at least in some way, is tangentially aligned towards freedom, and that's an awesome thing. So congratulations, and give yourself a pat on the back for that. Again, guys, we have like 70, 80 people in here right now on average, just hanging around listening to us. So I want to kind of throw a question to the panel. Anyone at all who wants to put their hand up and speak. I would love to get some input. I'll go to Jimper in just a second. In fact, you know what, Jimper, you go now, and then I'll ask a question.
I'm going now. Okay.
Yeah,
It's fine because the place where I am it's going to be overcrowded in a few minutes, and I won't be able to speak anymore. So, I would like to go back to what you said an hour ago. You spoke about trust concerning how to make people understand that the KYC is useful, and I think trust is a good argument, but I think it may not be a commercial argument. So my concern is, how do you plan to make companies and government understand that this will be useful for them? Because the fact is that right now they don't use it, and if they need to use it, they will have to change their habits, and they will have also to invest. So that means we should find some real good arguments for them to be convinced they need to change their habits and invest in this. So do you have any idea right now, or are you still thinking about it?
No, 100%. I mean, this is one of the only things I do think about. I'm a nerd like that. In any case, so I think this is one of those points where it's all about who you're trying to serve. And we are serving the people, first and foremost. We are trying to serve just real people and give people back their freedom. But the thing is, institutions are formed of people. We need to be able to serve them too. I think the value proposition from protocols such as Galactica, where you have this private compliant environment, is that institutions can actually jump into the decentralized sandbox. They don't just have to be. They don't just have to be exposed to it into the most innovative and profit-driven freaking space on the planet. They can actually be involved in the decentralized sandbox itself. They can actually play in the game. So it's massively valuable just for exposure's sake. They can actually take part in. They can actually hold their own assets. They can act as their own banks. They can do all the really cool freedom stuff that that crypto allows them to do. But they can also prove their compliance. They can also retain their financial privacy, which is absolutely enormous for anyone who's ever played in financial PvP. You know that financial privacy is kind of important, and on trying to play financial PvP on a transparent blockchain is a different ball game, really. Yeah, there's an awful lot of benefits for everyone, including institutions. As far as having to get government's permission or their silent consent, we don't need it. The whole point of crypto and Web3 is to provide exits for people, is to provide people other options, is to give people other options for governance, other options for financial security, other options for social interaction. The goal is to free people. It's governments and the way the world is set up now is working to a point. However, as we can all see, there are cracks in the system. There are things that fall down. There are already governments who have failed. There are too many problems in the world, and there is too much historical precedent for systems failing, for us not to build better, more sustainable systems. So that's why we're building what we're building. That's why we're trying to give free people the opportunity to be unassailable and free on unstoppable infrastructure. That's, I guess, how I'll put that.
Hey everyone, just wanted to step in quickly to say that I have to leave. It's been a pleasure. I don't want the conversation to stop. We have core contributors from Logos here present. So if you want to request chair, he can step up and take over. Chair works directly with Waku, program managing with Waku. An excellent space host extraordinaire. So we also have Sterling in the audience who can also step up and speak about Logos more on the philosophical side. So I'll leave you in good hands along with OP1. Thank you everyone for I really, I appreciate having these conversations that with people that actually care. I think that's the most important part for me. Like, I think what we're trying to do is kind of this nihilism or this pessimism that has taken over kind of societies. And I don't know. I appreciate it. I've been in this space for a long, always valued how optimistic people are, and I think as long as we keep it that way, we have a good future ahead of us.
Absolutely, man. That was beautifully said. And thank you very much for joining us on the space, Doctor. You've been absolutely incredible, and I really appreciate your presence again. Like, clearly, you are a person who cares and a person who's optimistic as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Leave you in good hands, Sterling and Chair, if you want to request.
We'll probably
and then
be
you
wrapping
can
up in about the next 15 minutes. So if you want to jump up,
Okay,
Sterling,
perfect.
or anyone else, you're welcome to, just for some final words. But just so you know, we will be finishing up in about 15.
Okay, see you soon, guys.
Okay, everyone. Well, that was Logos. If they're still on the stage for you, make sure you grab them and give them a follow before they disappear. If not, then you can find them at logos.co, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so I think we'll just jump over to Triggs first, I think, and then Taro. I can't remember who was first. Sorry, don't fight over it.
Yeah, thanks. I actually wanted to just respond a little bit more to Chimpa's question. I think there's a really strong use case for institutional adoption to sovereign decentralized identity. And I think we're going to start seeing it as there becomes more of a tipping point, I guess, in transition to that as users start to recognize the value of maintaining sovereignty over their data. That's going to be a preference that they start choosing as opposed to the traditional forms of reputation that's available right now. Like users of these traditional platforms, like you use Facebook as an example. We've all been on Facebook probably at least at some point or another, but most of us are starting to leave because they're harvesting our data. And once there starts to become this tipping point where decentralized sovereign reputation actually starts to have value, we're going to start seeing the importance of the weight of issuance when it comes to reputation. Having an anonymously applied version of digital reputation doesn't really carry very much weight to it because you can't verify the source of that reputation. And so that's where institutions are suddenly going to start seeing the value in issuing sovereign decentralized reputation because it issues with it the weight of their reputation as an institution. And so users are going to want to get reputation from these institutions, but they're going to demand that they have sovereignty over that. And that dynamic is going to eventually shift and create this whole new marketplace for sovereign, zero knowledge, decentralized reputation that draws in institutions that want to throw around the weight of their reputation as an institution. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think it's going to be a really powerful shift.
100%, Triggs, yeah. And it does all of that, and then it makes it interoperable, just completely interoperable, global, and like accessible from anywhere for free. Like that. What the kind of things that crypto and blockchain and Web3, whatever the hell you want to call this stuff, does for just like human interaction, it's off the charts, and it's just so freeing. I honestly can't wait to see the kind of interactions we have when we have more. I don't know, when we have all these free rights and freedoms available to us on chain, like exactly for privacy and for identity in some cases, and in some cases, like it's just like with I've lost my words. I do apologize. I'm getting far too excited. Taro, take it away. Give me a question. Stop making me look like an idiot.
Good evening. It's more of a question for Logos, just on the topic of building Web3 solutions. So I think Nomos has been mentioned, so Consensus and Waku has been mentioned. I just wanted to get a better idea on, like, if you could elaborate on the role of Codex, so the storage in the Logo stack, and how does it help with the whole idea of Web3? Is it just the privacy part of it, or
Yeah, I mean, Codex is pretty fundamental within it. One, it releases the ability to build truly decentralized apps. but actually like Waku has a decentralized storage need, right? So early in Waku v1, it was not trivial, but like the easier part was building the P2P communications protocol. But even Waku today is, without Codex being in, mainnet, is still reliant on BitTorrent as a form of peer-to-peer data storage, right? So being able to move beyond BitTorrent to something that's more secure, more durable, more reliable, right? Nomos, our layer one blockchain, also has a data availability requirement of which Codex can solve. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty important point, even before you get to the idea of being able to store decentralized front ends or host, data or sensitive information in a durable manner.
I've just actually realized that we have Chair from Waku on the stage. Welcome, Chair. It's good to see you. I'd love to get any input you've got.
Hello, thank you for having me. This has been an excellent space. I will be around in the future. I've been really enjoying myself, and this is a conversation that hits close to home for me. And my entire life has sort of been guided by the evolution of this ecosystem for the past 8 years or so, or close to 8 years, from the time that I was exposed to Ethereum to this moment now. And the topic of the early ethos of Ethereum and sort of like the core tenets of Ethereum as it was first being built, and the three components that were originally defined, two of which did not end up getting shipped, sort of defined the vision that really resonated with me when Ethereum was first described to me. And immediately, and having been aware of Bitcoin up to that point, but in 2016 at an unsanctioned rave in the Joshua Tree Desert, someone explained Ethereum to me, someone who was qualified to, bona fide dev, explained to me why Ethereum is cool, why they think Ethereum is cool, and why I should look into it, because we had started talking about Bitcoin. And so in that early ethos, I was very aligned, and it resonated heavily with me early. And then things evolved the way they did, and the ICO era happened, and DeFi summer happened, and NFTs happened, and and all of the Bitcoin drama happened, and Bitcoin Cash happened, and so many other things. And the privacy and self-sovereignty was an early talking point, at least when I first started paying attention. Controlling your own keys, understanding the difference between a DEX and a SEX, and why it's important to control your own private keys was a very common topic of conversation, both in the media and just in threads. And for anybody who was a newbie, it was like the first thing that people were explaining, because self-sovereignty is like the whole point of this thing. And I don't want to get too all over the place, but so being a contributor at Logos now, and continuing sort of that vision where Whisper and Swarm did not succeed, Codex and Waku sort of replace those protocols, and then Nomos being the sort of the privacy first blockchain part of it that sort of forms that modular stack that was mentioned of Logos, and like those three protocols interplaying with each other creates the possibility for all sorts of interesting things to be built in a privacy focused way, nation states, protocols, what have you. And so that was pretty broad, but getting to like Codex, basically, we all know Filecoin and IPFS. Codex is like a more privacy, to put it very broadly and super high level. Codex is a more privacy focused version of that protocol. Waku is sort of the cache layer, or the messaging layer, the communication layer. So like not necessarily chat. All chat is messaging. All chat is messages, but not all messages are chat. And so there's very interesting ways that Waku is already being used by Railgun in the DeFi setting, and also by the Graph in the way that they need to handle data. And we talked about spam. I can get into spam a little bit too, but I don't want to lose people getting too low level. But anyway, so the space is really close to home. I hope that answers some questions. If not, just created more questions about logos and what's happening. And anyway, thank you for having us, and thank you for hosting this.
Dude, you didn't lose anyone. I don't think you lost anyone, mate. I think you just expressed your passion for the space very well, very beautifully, and I'm here for it, man. And thank you very much for coming up and speaking on the behalf of Waku. That's absolutely amazing, jumping up for that. And yeah, I would love to hear more on spam. That'd be great. I'd love to hear more. Firstly, though, I'd just like to remind everyone we are getting close to the end of the space now. Would absolutely adore and love you forever if you could give us a like and a retweet on the space. We have provided, I believe, personally, I believe we have provided an awful lot of value today. I think the speakers on this stage are all absolute legends. You should all give them all a follow, especially BuildCities. You should give OP1, Chair, everyone who's not regularly on the space, give them a follow, in addition to logos.co, who's already left the stage, but just check them out, give them a search, whatever. Please give them a follow. So again, give us a like and a retweet on the space to get that information out there. The recording matters. If you have more to add, Chair, on spam, I would actually love to hear that, and then we can carry on with the end of the show.
Absolutely. So the spam solution that Waku is that is live on the Waku Gen 0 network right now is it's called RLN, which stands for rate limiting nullifiers. But like keeping it high level, a node that broadcasts messages on the Waku network, which is a peer-to-peer gossip sub-based network, is there's a limit to the amount of messages that you're allowed to broadcast every second. And if you are not registered with RLN, which is basically registering via an Ethereum address, right now still on Sepolia or Sepolia, or however you like to pronounce it. I say Sepolia. You you register your node's address with a little bit of ETH. And by the way, this is very much RLN v2 is in development right now. It's going from research to in development currently, and so but I think these basic parameters are going to stay the same. So essentially, it relies on a consensus network to register an address with some value, and then you are allowed to broadcast messages at a higher rate, and you will be held to the standards of the RLN parameters, so that if you are found to be abusing them or are in fact broadcasting spam, you will be punished. So very much, close enough to the Ethereum staking model, where if you are misbehaving, you will lose the value deposited or your reputation.
I was
But that
trying
does
to
not
find the whipping sound on my soundboard. I couldn't find it in time. I'm sorry.
slash. Um, you are not required. However, anyone can use the Waku network without registering. At least at this point, without registering with RLN. It's just whether or not other nodes will be actually listening for your messages. But that's sort of getting a little bit into the weeds of things. But if you are interested in Waku, you can find out more by following Waku. You can find the link to the Twitter profile and my profile, or Waku, that's waku.org, or docs.waku.org. And yeah, I'd love to answer anyone's questions.
There you go, guys. There you go. Waku. Now, this is obviously part of a privacy-preserving stack, which includes logos. Now, I think that, like I said at the very beginning of this space, it's all about people, and it's all about trying. Like, this whole space is kind of all about making people unassailable, like free, unassailable people who can't be controlled, who can't be censored, who can just be who they want to be. Now, like, there's a bunch of like nuances in there that kind of get missed in get all in the clouds. Can you identify yourself? Can you not? Is there value in that? Is there not? There are plenty of cases for both sides, but the whole point is unassailable, free people. Now, anyone who is building towards that end, I am 100% bullish on. So again, give Waku a follow. Like if you're interested in private decentralized storage and messaging, give Logos a follow. If you're interested in like private sovereign enclaves of people. And obviously, if you haven't followed the Galactica.com account by now, I don't know what's wrong with you. Just click the damn button, please. Thank you. And yeah, everyone on this stage, please give them a follow as well because they're epic people. We've also, of course, got Angelo on stage, who I realize I haven't actually spoken to in like the last 15, 20 minutes. Angelo, what's up, bro? I do apologize. We've just been kind of having this free form conversation and I have not been paying enough attention to people.
No, it's amazing. I have to jump. So I just wanted to say, thank you so much for hosting this project. Huge supporters of what Galactica is doing, what Logos is doing, and it's incredibly, foundational work for where we're going. And at the same time, just kind of looking where we're at, which is something that we're thinking build a lot is like, hey, we're in this room. I'm just going to venture to guess there's probably people from 20 different countries here. And, before the internet, that was not really possible unless you were, going to a kind of very urban city, or you had to deliberately be able to kind of do that. And so, like, we're already live players. Like, everyone in this room is already a live player in building out this future. We're in the arena, so huge thank you to everybody in this room. Running a node for Galactica, you're building clients for Logos, or it's just awesome and inspiring to see. And on the other side of that is the future. The future we see is the future we build. So with that, thanks again, and hope to do more of these in the future. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming, Angelo. Really, thank you for coming. Anyone who wants to know anything about like community building, free community building, sovereign community building, you want to talk to Angelo and go and follow BuildCities. Thank you for coming, man. All right. This space has been absolutely epic. Normally, I would go around the entire speaker panel and get final notes, but we've been going for 2 hours now, and I feel like we're about at that point where everyone kind of just wants to get back to their families, get back to what they want to do. So I'm going to spare everyone that for the time being. We are going to just do a very quick sign off. Firstly, just because we invited everyone up here, we're going to get the invitees. So OP1, if you have any final words, I'd love to hear it, mate. Thank you so much for coming up.
No, just thank you for having us. Always fun sharing these ideas with new people, and especially those that are like-minded and appreciate it and want to help us sort of promulgate and expand the reach.
Hell yes, man. Hell yes. We are brothers in understanding there. Chair, thank you very much for coming up at the last minute, man. That was amazing. Cheers for coming up. Any final words?
Thank you. I appreciate it. On the community building tip, it's something that I think about a lot in the context of the topics that we were talking about here. So I'm excited to talk more about that and sort of where the overlap exists in sort of obvious places and maybe less obvious places that we can find support among users in this world of ours. So excited to talk about that more. Thank you for having us and Logos and OP1, and definitely for everyone out there, follow OP1 and keep your ears on and perhaps the notifications on for exciting things. I'll just say that.
Man. Fun ordinal connections coming, right? Fun ordinal collections. It's going to be a good time.
Thank you very, very much.
All right. I'd actually like to extend a personal thank you to Amelia and Candice, who I think are in the audience right now, for organizing, at least getting the inter-team kind of communication stuff going. Appreciate that. Thank you. And finally, guys, we are Galactica Network. You are listening to Into the Cypher State, which is the premier public broadcast of the Cypher State. We're here to build something special. We're here to build something that helps society itself, bring itself on-chain with citizens' freedoms and rights intact in the on-chain nation that we are calling the Cypher State. Now, it turns out that when you have real people on-chain with those rights and freedoms of financial privacy, it's actually a lot easier to activate things like real-world assets and DPIN and DIDs and reputation-enhanced DeFi and everything else, all these weird acronyms that sound awesome, but are even more awesome in practice when we actually try and make you understand the damn things. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. Now, the one thing I'll just try and remind everyone, the only way to protect yourself in the age of centralized power and artificial everything is to own yourself and your assets. So just by being in this space and being bullish on Web3, you are doing the right thing. Well done. Good job. Now, thank you very much for joining us, everyone. This is a weekly podcast. Every Wednesday, 8 o'clock UTC, you will find us here discussing something, not always privacy, not always cipher states, not always artificial intelligence. It kind of bounces around a bit, but there's always value. So if you would like to join us again, then make sure you are setting that aside a time to come and join us in the listener panel or come and speak. We especially enjoy it when our community comes up and speaks. We know there's a bit of a psychological barrier there. It's difficult to come up and speak. So we just want to remind you that we are a very friendly space. You are in a safe space up here. There is no madness up here. Well, there's probably a little bit of madness, but in any case, there's not that much like craziness, I guess, up here. Nothing untoward. And we would really appreciate you coming up. We don't care about your level of English. We don't care about your level of understanding. We just care about your curiosity and you and who you are. So if you want to come up and join us and speak on the speaker panel next week, then just do so, okay? You feel safe. I think that's pretty much it from us, guys. So again, give us a like and a retweet on the space. We thank you very much for coming, and we hope to see you again on the next episode of Into the Cypher State. Thank you very much for coming. Hoss, I don't know if you just want to say goodbye, like a big goodbye or something.
Yeah, goodbye, everyone. I appreciate everyone that's doing their thing. I think the space just keeps moving at exponential speeds, and it's awesome that you're along the journey. I'm proud to be part of that. So if there's anything I could ever do, reach out. But anyhow, thank you everyone, and take care.
Appreciate you as always, CosmosHOSS. All right, guys, you have a good weekend now and a good rest of your week. We will see you on the next episode of Into the Cypher State. Thanks very much, everyone.